Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Chenoweth, and thank you for joining me today to talk about how we can build God's kingdom with our writing, with our books. So, welcome to Help Build the Kingdom with Your Book. I'd like to ask you a question. What do St. Paul, St. Augustine, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Karen Kingsbury, C.S. Lewis, and yes, even you and I have in common? If you're joining me, you probably guessed it. It's that we all want to write, or maybe have written, a book to help build God's kingdom, to get across His message here on earth. But you may be asking, if you haven't written a book yet and would like to, how do I write a book that's worthy of that call from God, that will get across that message and reach thousands, if not millions, of readers like those other famous authors? It's no easy task, but remember, God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. So I've made it my mission as a best-selling author myself of Christian fiction, of being an editor and book coach, and the founder of a mentoring program, Your Book Done Right, to help you get those books out into the world. And I want to share right now some of what I know and teach in my masterclass and in my book coaching program. So let me share my presentation, and please feel free to chat in the chat box and let me know, first of all, that my technology is working and this is all live, and that you're joining me here today. Let me know where you're from and maybe even what book is on your heart. So let me share a simple slideshow presentation, an easy step-by-step guide. First of all, let me introduce myself a little further. I'm a public speaker. I started out in taking Toastmasters and started to speak at church groups and book clubs and women's groups about my books, which are contemporary suspense novels that reimagine Old Testament stories in the Bible. And they're displayed in the slide. In speaking about those books to small groups and then eventually across the country to writers' conferences and workshops and keynotes, I became a college writing instructor. I wanted to pass on what I knew in my own experience when writers would come up to me and say, "How did you get to be a best-selling author?" So that led me to, in COVID, do a course online, and then I developed my own writing course. I'm also a professional editor with a few publishing houses and freelance. And that led me to be the founder of Your Book Done Right Masterclass and Elite Coaching. I also have 30 years of publicity and marketing experience, which has led me to help my clients and students as well. And I will share some tips and strategies with you right now here today. I love helping writers become authors. It's my passion. And I've helped these books and several others on my website and on my bookshelves, fiction, nonfiction, memoir, devotionals, children's books, to get published. A lot of writers, again, ask, how do I get this done? So let me share a bit more. So if you're just getting started, I encourage you to ask yourself the questions a reporter would ask themselves. I was a reporter coming out of college before I got into marketing and then becoming an author and book coach. And I always ask myself, both in writing and in marketing my book, the questions: who, what, when, where, why, and how. First of all, who's telling the story? Who is your book about? Is it about you? Is it about a character in a novel? And then, who are your readers? Because you want to write for your readers as well, so that they take away an important message from your book. Next, what is your book about? What type of book or story is it? What is the plot? table of contents. What is the genre? Mine are contemporary suspense biblical stories. So I call them modern day writing stories or edgy Christian fiction. They're fast paced, full of intrigue and a little romance. Next, when and where does your story take place? What is the setting? And setting can involve a lot. It can involve mood and place and time. And story is important to nonfiction books as well. I'll get into that in a minute. But the most important question you can ask is, why am I writing this book? Because that's what's important to your readers. And it elevates a good book into a great book. Just think about a movie that you watch and what elevates it into a movie that transforms you. It's the message, the takeaway message from the story. So I'll talk about that in a minute. And then last but not least, how do I write well? How do I get this done? How do I get my book done? So let's talk about that first all important question, why? What is the purpose? How do I find my message? What's your story really about? What's the theme, focus, meaning? So most writers write what they know or what they like or what they feel, but you need to connect with your reader through your pain, experience. You need to make the reader feel, and only then can they care. So if you're writing a novel, it needs to be about real life characters that people can relate to. If you're writing a memoir and it's about you, you need to share from your core, inner core, your pain experience. And a nonfiction book often involves a signature story or your story in it that gets across that message as well. And last but not least, as Christian writers, we usually want to get across what God is saying through us. For me, that was when I found my purpose through writing my first novel, The Faithful One, which is based on the book of Job. It's a modern day rendition or reimagining of the story. Job is the guy who had everything and then lost it all and questioned, why me? And for me, I was going through a lot of Job-like stuff. I was losing my marriage, my health, my business, my advertising agency, and I felt like I was losing my kids through the divorce. They were becoming teenagers, and I questioned, God, why me? Why is all this bad stuff happening to a good person like me? And that's what Job did too. But he had held on to it by a shred of faith. And in going through that pain and that dark place, God called me to write a modern day novel based on the book of Job. I look back now and see that it helped me through all that Job-like stuff, and I came out on the other end, and God redeemed me through all of that. I'm happily remarried, living my dream as an author and book coach, and have a great relationship with our blended family of 5 kids today. And my health has returned. I'm in recovery. I was suffering from the disease of alcoholism, and I'm 18 years into recovery. So God brought me through that, but he also helped me to reach out and help others as well. It was crystallized for me when I read a book by Deepak Chopra, philosopher, author, spiritual guide, and he's the author of 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. And in it, he says, everyone has a purpose in life, a unique gift or special talent to give to others. And when we blend this unique talent with service to others, we experience the ecstasy and exaltation of our own spirit, which is the ultimate goal of all goals. So the next question is what? What are the contents? What is the story about? If you're writing fiction, you want to structure into a beginning, middle, end. And you have the introduction, then the middle part, and then the ending. So beginning, middle, end. For nonfiction, you usually have an introduction, contents, and a conclusion. Remember, though, that story is ultra important. Jesus wrote to us in parables, right? Like the prodigal son. So you want to relate through story. People relate to people, not preaching. And your signature story is usually about who you are or why you do what you do. It's the most powerful story you have to tell. And Bill Wilson says in the book Alcoholics Anonymous, pain is the touchstone of all progress. So your testimony matters. And as Dr. Maya Angelou says, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you make them feel. So, next question is, who is my book for? Who is my audience, or who is my book about? And let's look at your audience, because again, the reader's always asking what's in it for me. And finding your audience is like building a fire. You want to start with kindling when you build a fire. You don't just throw a log on a fire pit and hope it ignites. So we're not out to reach the world all at once. If we do that, that's great. But usually for most writers in today's world, we reach a niche and we build on that, and then the word spreads. So I want you to ask, who needs your story or your book most? And when you find that out, then you will find your audience, and try to have a servant's heart. As Deepak Chopra said, who needs your message most? And when you meet that need with your individual talent or story, that's what creates the spark of influence. So next, I want you to ask yourself when, where, and how. We'll throw those all together. So you need to come up with a plan. I'm a very avid believer, and I teach this, that all good books have a structure to them, and you need a chapter outline or at least a table of contents for nonfiction books. So you want to map out where you're going with your book. You want to, chapter by chapter, say what the next chapter is about, so that when life happens, and it does happen all the time, and takes you away from your writing, you can come back to it with a roadmap to guide you. So if you were on chapter 8 writing, and a tragedy happens, God forbid, or life happens, and you're called away from your writing, you can come back to it and pick up again on chapter 9 without recreating the wheel and starting all over. I also would encourage you to pick a time and a place where you're feeling most energetic, and then put all distractions aside. Treat it like your writing time, like it is a doctor's appointment. You wouldn't take your kids into your doctor's appointment. You wouldn't take your cell phone and be calling people on your cell phone. You wouldn't be on Facebook or social media. So you want to weed out all distractions when you're in that writing zone. And trust me, the more you write, the better you write. So if you can spend a few hours at a time and get in the zone or the flow of writing, that will make your writing better. Then you have some decisions to make. What's your point of view, your voice? Is it informal? Is it formal? Casual, conversational? You'll develop it as you go along. And who's telling the story? If it's a memoir, it's probably you. And if it's a novel, it may be a third person party. That's what I narrate in, and so forth. You can have multiple narrators. Then you want to decide on what your message is. For the faithful one, again, it was a story based on the book of Job, but my message was, who are we to question God's ways, which is the ultimate message of Job. You want to decide on things, if you're writing a novel, on your characters, your setting, your timeline. Then you want to decide on your title, your cover. Then there's work to be done, more work to be done besides the writing. You want to learn the craft, you want to write well. You may need to do some research. And then, of course, after you're finished writing, the editing process comes to play. You want to find a good editor. You want to find somebody to proof your book and ultimately publish it. And there are many publishing options out there today. And I can explore them with you if you want to talk to me afterwards, but everything from self-publishing to the big five traditional publishers and the Christian publishers fall under them. It's all doable these days, and all you need is a little help, but it all depends on your time, energy, and budget. You can get some help from a coach like myself, critique groups. Again, there are conferences out there and the possibilities are endless. Also, part of the how, where, when is getting your book out there with marketing. And speaking is the number one book marketing strategy. And I know a lot of you in this conference are probably already speakers. And I'm part of Marnie's organization. Again, I started in Toastmasters, and I speak to various colleges, charitable organizations, churches, book clubs, libraries, book festivals. The opportunities are endless. And so it's great if you're a speaker as well as an author, because they both go hand in hand. Next, I want to talk about people, passion, and perseverance. So I have pictures on this slide of myself in between Kirk Cameron, some of you may recognize him, and my husband, actually, Bill Chenoweth, on the left. And then on the right, I have Nancy Stafford, who is herself an author and an actress, Christian actress. So Kirk and Nancy are Christian actors, and they both endorsed my latest book, The Wise Man. Why do I share this? Not for my own glory, but for God's and yours, to share with you that you can get endorsements simply by asking, by going out there and meeting with people and asking them. And Kirk Cameron, I went to hear speak in local, my neighboring state. I live in Maryland, in Delaware, and he did his Living Room Reset tour. And The Wise Man is about the right to life and the Roe v. Wade modern day, based on Solomon. And he was more than happy to send me an endorsement for that book, which went a long way in marketing it. So I was supposed to speak actually with Nancy Stafford in a women's Christian organization speaking event. It never happened because of COVID, unfortunately, but she also said, I'll be glad to. So you are here today with your peers, mentors, teachers, speakers. Ask for those endorsements. Ask me, and we all help each other. And try to think outside the box. I know that's cliche, but attend other conferences besides writers' conferences, and there are many Christian conferences. Two that I attended was the National Religious Broadcasters Proclaim. I attended in 2016. They're now on Proclaim 23 this year. And the International Christian Film Festival. I wanted to pitch my books into movies. I'm still working with a producer on one, and that's my dream goal, one of them. And I met Cindy Bond, the producer of I Can Only Imagine, the film, and she actually endorsed my book as well. And that was The Jealous Son, based on Cain and Abel. So you never know, again, when God will put the right person in the right place at the right time to help you with the right message or the right connection. It's all ordained, and it will happen. And these are just some of the people I've met along the way in my journey: Jack Canfield, Abby Johnson, William Paul Young, Alex Kendrick, David A.R. White, Sam and Kevin Sorbo, and Pastor Rick Warren, and Alice McDermott. All people that I have met along my journey take lots of pictures and post them, because why not? Again, people are here to help. And last but not least, I have had many opportunities to be on television, radio, podcasts. Again, we all try to help each other. So let me know and I'll reach out for you if need be. So I want to share a few Bible messages that go hand in hand with this presentation, because again, we're Christians, Christian authors, Christian speakers, Christian writers, and we're here to build the kingdom. And sometimes it's tough. It's tough to stay the course. We get writer's block, or stay the course. We get downtrodden. There are naysayers. There are people that believe we can't do it. And we just have to believe in ourselves and in each other. So don't listen to the naysayers. Even Jesus was rejected in his hometown of Nazareth. So persevere. And don't believe that you can't do this and that you don't have something worthwhile to share, because in fact, Jesus tells us that we will do even greater things than he did. And shocking, but true. So our books can heal others, help others, make a difference out there in the world. And so it's not about the money and the fame, but it's about getting out the message. So don't be afraid to market your book. Invest in yourself and your book. It's like the pearl of great price, like Matthew said. It's like the kingdom of heaven. If we believe, we can make a difference. And ask for help. Ask me for help. Ask each other for help. We're all here to help. God says, I'll give you shepherds after my own heart who will feed you with knowledge and understanding. And my favorite verse, and we know that all good things work together for good to those who love God and are called according to his purpose, Romans 8:28. And following right up with that, God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called, just like I said earlier. So shepherds will lead you. You can get this done, and I hope to be one of them. And last but not least, the parable of the faithful servant, the parable of the talents. So God put this book on your heart, this poetry book on your heart, this devotional on your heart, this novel on your heart, this memoir on your heart. And if he did, then it's incumbent upon you, in fact, to get it done and get it done well. You don't want to give him half an effort like the wicked servants. You want to put your all into it and make it for his glory and help build his kingdom. So you want to hear at the end of the day, well done, good and faithful servant. Bravo for getting it done. I can help. I teach a master class that's underway right now. We're a couple sessions in, but if you want to join us, let me know. I have a freebie out there, get your free getting started guide. And I have various coaching programs. I can help set up a free Zoom chat, no obligation. I love helping other writers become authors. I will be happy to talk about your book and guide you any which way I can for a free 30-minute call. It's my ministry and my passion. So I hope you all take advantage of that and meet with me. So let me just say a prayer, and with a prayer. I haven't had a chance to check the chat box, so I hope we're still live and that all is well. Dear God, please help everyone gathered here today to hear your message and to follow your call that you put on your heart. Please help us be brave and have the strength in you, in Jesus, in the Holy Spirit, to help build your kingdom here on earth with our works. And we know that you have called us and that you will help us on that journey, and that you have called us to help each other. Thank you very much for being here with me today. Again, I hope you reach out on my website, yourbookdoneright.com or michelleshenoeth.com. Looks like Chenoweth with a Y. michelleshenoeth.com, spelled here, or email me at michelle@michelleshenoeth.com. I'd like to thank you all, and I really hope that you all get your books done well and build the kingdom. Thank you very much. God bless.